Hi friend, I just wanted to take a minute to invite you to our Lash Biz Babes Experience 2026. This is a one-day all online event happening on May 2nd, and our theme for the year is going all in. We are shaking things up and doing it differently than anyone ever has before. This is going to be an all online event as usual, but it's going to be 100% a curated journey throughout your day as we guide you through the mindset, strategy, and passion needed to go all in on your business to make it your best year in business yet. All lash artists, estheticians, and beauty professionals are invited to join us. There will be guided sessions, interactive workshops, a panel discussion, and big giveaways happening throughout that whole day. And tickets are on sale now for only $199. Payment plans are available. Let's go all in on our businesses for 2026 together. All the details and the link for tickets are down in the show notes below. I would love to have you join us online in May. Welcome to Lash Biz Babes, the podcast for solo beauty business owners who want to build a full clientele and create a business and life that they truly love. My name is Erica. I'm your host. I'm a lash artist turned beauty business coach, lash educator, and social media manager for salons and beauty businesses. I'm so happy that you're here. Let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Welcome to this week's episode of Lash Biz Babes. My name is Erica. I'm your host, and today we are going to be talking about what are the next steps when you decide you're ready to move or evolve past the lash chair and do more than just lashing or more than just hair, more than just spray tans, nails, aesthetics, whatever it is that you do. So first off, I want to start this out by saying there's absolutely nothing wrong with being in the service chair and doing services and doing lashes and doing aesthetics and whatever it is you do. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you love, stick with it. Do your thing. You don't have to start a product line. You don't have to be an educator. You don't have to teach other people. You don't have to start an online course. You don't have to open a salon. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. You get to decide what that looks like for you. And if you love lashing and you love what you do, there's absolutely nothing wrong with sticking with only that, okay? So I don't want this episode to make you feel like you have to branch out and you have to move past the service chair and you have to do anything or you should do this, you should do that. No, you should do whatever the hell it is that you want to do. And if lashing, aesthetics, hair, spray tans, nails, whatever brings you joy and happiness and that is your thing, stick with it. But I will say there are so many opportunities in the beauty industry as a whole, and there's so many different avenues that you could go down. And then in the lash industry specifically, it is such a newer industry compared to, say, hair or nails, right? And there's so much room for opportunities and growth, and there's so many avenues that you can take with that I do feel like there's a lot of opportunity. And not only that, but I have talked with a lot of you lately who are at that point where you're like, oh, I'm looking at becoming an educator. I'm looking at starting a product line. I'm doing this and doing that. Like you are working on something big. You have big goals and you are working towards those things. So I thought I'd do an episode and talk about what, from my perspective, my recommendations on what to do next, how to go about that, and how to start building up your name and your brand in that new way. Now, I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because I feel like it's so true. When you are starting even just educating or you want to start a product line or you want to do social media management, you want to do a podcast or whatever it is same industry or similar industry, right? But it is a completely new business. So you're kind of having to start over fresh all over again. And you're like the beginner, the newbie, and you have to build it up from the ground up. So even though lash educating is adjacent to lash extensions, it's very similar in that sense that they both have to do with lashes. It's still a new business, right? You've got to kind of start over with, it's a different audience. You got to build up your curriculum. You have to market to a new base and, do all the sales and get all your website stuff set up and all the things, put your trainings together. So there's a lot that really goes into that. And even for example, with the podcast, that was still new too. I had to figure out the name and how am I going to market this? And back when I started it, I'm new in the podcast world and it's like it takes time to build up. It's the same thing. It's like it's something new. You have to build that back up from the start. So I think that's important to point out just because that was a little bit of a learning curve for me because I didn't realize that at first. And so I'm going to share with you today some of the things that I wish I had known when I first started expanding past the lash chair, and what I feel like would help prepare you to be the most successful, the quickest as possible with this. So, one of the first questions I always get asked is, do I need to start a new Instagram page? Do I need to start new social media pages? And the answer to this is not really cut and dry because it's different for everybody and it just depends on what you want to do next. So if you are doing lashes right now and you want to start a product line, when you're doing lashes, your target audience who you want to have following you is local potential clients in your area, right? Women in your area who are maybe moms or teachers, medical professionals, those are who you want following your pages. Versus when you start to sell lash products, it's the same kind of industry, right? Like lash extensions, but now you're in like the retail side, the e-commerce side of the lash industry. And your audience is now other lash artists, and it's a different audience. So in that case, yes, I would recommend splitting your page because you have a different target audience. And that's if like you still want to grow your service-based business. Now, if you're like, hey, I'm really not going to be doing services anymore, I'm going full blown into this lash brand, then maybe you could keep it all the same. But the point is that it has a different audience, right? So when you're going into education, one thing I did find with this, with doing lash extensions, and I taught lash trainings to my local area and estheticians in my local area, cosmetologists in my local area, I found that I didn't really need to split the page because it was still a local audience, so it worked okay. But you still have to mix the two content types in consistently because otherwise your clients or potential clients will be like, oh, she must not offer services because she's not posting about any of that, right? And vice versa, if you're posting more towards lash clients and you're not like promoting your trainings at all, it can kind of get confusing. So I feel like you have to do a good job of like blending the two content types together so that they know that you offer both things. But since it's both a local audience, I feel like you can still do really well with that. Now, where I might recommend splitting your page when you are getting into education is if you're getting more into the online space where like you're offering online services, business coaching, online trainings, online courses, ebooks, things like that to other lash artists or other beauty professionals, then I might recommend splitting the page just because it's a completely different audience, right? Or if you're a lash artist and you're going to be offering, beauty branding services, I might recommend making a new page for that because although you might have some lash artists and things who already follow you, you're also going to be marketing to a new audience. So that's kind of my recommendation and the way that I look at it, because it is nice when you already have a page started, you have a follower base already, they've probably built up some know, like, and trust with them. But the thing about it is that the right people for the new product or service that you're going to be offering? And if not, it might be more beneficial to start a new page for that. So I'll give you an example of this with one of the social media clients that we have. When I first started working with them, they had one page that had their product line all in it, and it also had like all of their salon stuff in it. So they are a hair extension product line and they have a salon. And so everything was put into one. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because it's the same name and everything. But the difference is that on their product line page, they want to reach people other than just in their local area. And they want to be reaching people all across the country, all across the United States, versus with their salon page, they need local people and they're not necessarily targeting other hairstylists. It's like people who want to come get their hair done, who want to get their hair extensions done, right? And they also offer like other full service salon services. So, haircuts, colors, all of that. So it's like, okay, so with this one, with the product line page, you want to be marketing towards other hairstylists all over the country. We really want to get a lot of reach with that and build up our know, like, trust as like an professional product line for hair extensions and for hairstylists versus their salon, still the same brand name, still the same values and beliefs and things like that. And they still use all of their, of course, in-house extension line, but their target audience is local people who want to get their hair done, who want to get their hair cut, who want to get it colored, who want to get extensions. So it's vastly different audiences. And even though it's a same brand, same values, same purpose, it's a different audience and different goals. So I actually recommended splitting the pages and starting a new Instagram for the salon page, and that's done very well. So although we will collaborate on some posts so that it shows up on both pages, if I'm doing something that's like a hair color or a haircut, I'm not putting that on the product line page, right? That's not getting shared with the product line page. It's exclusively on the salon page. Versus like if I'm talking about education behind installing hair extensions, I'm not putting that on the salon page. I'm going to leave it exclusively on the product line page. So that kind of helps you see the difference between, do I need a new page? And it really just depends, what's your purpose? And my thing is like, I feel like it's hard when it's just you, at least in my experience, maybe it was just me, but I had a hard time keeping up with multiple pages, which is so funny now that I do so many more. But like when it was just me and I was solo, and I was doing lash extensions, and I was starting to do trainings and business coaching and the podcast and all of that, I was just having a hard time balancing like running like our lash studio page when I had another lash artist working with me, and like building up her clientele and running the studio and all that on that page, and then running like my own business coaching page and the podcast and all of that, and all my trainings and things, online trainings and stuff on that one. I was in a different phase of life then, where my husband was working out of state and I had young kids and I had so much on my plate. So like I felt like it was kind of hard to run two pages at the time, but I think it would have been more beneficial if I would have kept up with it better. So there's my recommendation on that one. So the next thing is understanding like who you're going to be marketing to now, because it is so important to understand who you're talking to and catering everything that you do towards your new target audience. So you've probably marketed towards lash clients for a while now, people in your area, right? And you cater everything that you do to them, whether that's your marketing or your client experience or the way that you talk to them, all of the things, like where you find them online, how you interact with them, how you like get in front of them, all of that. And now you're gonna have to do that all over again with a new target audience. So you really need to understand who that is. And there's so much education nowadays about like your target audience and your ideal clients and your dream clients and all of that stuff. I feel like it's everywhere now, at least like in the lash industry. The more specific you can get about this, the better. So if you're going to be marketing towards other lash artists now, like where are they in their lash journey? Are they just starting out? Do they have a few years under their belt? Are they more advanced and more experienced? Say you want to do ebooks on getting your lash business started, an ebook about policies or something like that. That's going to be something you'd want to market more towards beginner lash artists, right? Versus if you wanted to do more of like an advanced training, niche down on a certain topic, maybe like advanced mapping techniques, that's probably going to be something that you market more towards like intermediate to advanced artists who are wanting to take their skills to that next level, because that might be a little way too over the heads of a beginner lash artist who needs to get their basic mapping skills down before they can build on that foundation that they have with your advanced training. So it really comes down to where are they at in their journey? What like services and products you're going to be offering, and which type of lash artist is that going to serve? So I think that's really important to really nail down who are you marketing to now, because you can cater every single part of your new business to your ideal lash artist or esthetician or hairstylist or whatever clients or customers that you want to have now. And so when you're putting together your curriculum or you're building the ebook or you're creating the products and you're looking at the branding of them and the packaging and all of these things, it is so much easier to put all of this together when you understand who your new target audience is and what their struggles are, what their beliefs are, how they view things, like what's attractive to them, like visually, and what's going to help them the most. Understand who your new target audience is. I recommend like writing this all out. I would like brain dump into Google Docs and just like write everything out that I'm thinking. You could journal about this and just really figure out who that is that you want to be marketing to so that you have a clear idea of building out your product or service and how you're going to market it now too, because you're going to have to build your audience with them. You're going to have to create content for them. And so it's really important to understand them inside and out. And if you don't understand them inside and out, you can do some market research, ask around in lash Facebook groups, ask around on TikTok, ask around to other lash artists or beauty professionals who you work with or who you know. Ask around on your stories, do some polls, whatever you need to do, and kind of figure out where are they at, what are they struggling with, who are they, all of those things. The next thing I would recommend is really nailing down what your new messaging is going to be, because you can create really beautiful content, but if you don't have like your new brand solidified beyond just the visual aspects of it, it's going to be hard for yourself to create content and to market yourself and to really land with the new target audience that you have. So when you do have a brand, like an education brand, a product line, things like that, like I feel like the visual branding, the logos, the aesthetics of it is a bit more important. I think a lot of lash artists kind of get caught up on, well, what's my logo going to look like? And they let that kind of hold them back sometimes because they're like, I need the perfect logo. I need the perfect name. I think those things are important. Like the visual branding aspects are definitely important as a lash artist, but like the way that your logo looks is not going to determine if you book a client or not. Like you can still build a really full lash clientele and not have a perfectly aesthetic logo or a perfectly aesthetic Instagram page. And especially if you have like your messaging down, you know who you are as a brand, as a business, beyond just the visual aspects of it. Now, when you have like a product line or like an education line, things like that, I think the visual branding part of things really comes into play more because it's going to affect, the way that they feel, the experience that they have with the brand. And also a lot of it is like the brand recognition and brand awareness. And if you have really strong cohesive visual branding, then anytime they see something, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's totally this brand because it's quote unquote on brand for them, right? When you see a post on Instagram, if it's a light heart lash post, because it's always going to be visually aesthetic and on brand for their brand. When I'm scrolling through, I immediately know if something is light heart because they do such a good job with their visual branding. Shout out to Maddie. She's just the sweetest thing. Love her to death. So that really plays a lot more into it, especially with product lines and things. So think about the visual aspects of the brand, but also like you need the messaging and like you need to really solidify who you are as a brand, not just with the visual branding, but all of the aspects behind it. So let's talk about a few of those things really quickly. So you have to understand like, okay, who are you serving now, right? But also, what are you helping them with? What problem are you solving for them? So if it's like a beginner lash artist, right? Or someone who wants to get into lashing, maybe doesn't know anything about lashing yet, like where are they at right now at point A? Like what are they struggling with? What don't they know? What dreams do they have? What goals do they have? Like where are they at? And I always write this out for every single offer that I have, whether it's social media management, whether it's like an ebook I'm going to do or a group coaching course or any of the like programs you've ever seen me do or courses you've ever seen me do. I've written this out, point A to point B. Who is it? Where are they at point A when they find me or when they connect with them? And then at point B, where are they going to be at after they work with me, after they take this training, after they take this course, after they use my products, right? Where are they going to be at? That's the point B, right? Because your services or products or whatever it is that you want to do next is going to be like quote unquote the vehicle that gets them from point A to point B. Or I've heard some people phrase it as like the boat too, like you have like island A, right? And now they're going to take your little boat, your product or your service, and they're going to get over to like island B now, right? So you want to have a really clear understanding of where's the starting point, where's the finish point, right? Because that can really inform a lot of your content and a lot of your messaging too. That is also something that you can really like input into like ChatGPT to have it help you solidify your brand and create content and all of your marketing and all that stuff. So the clearer you can be on that, the more you can get help with that from AI or ChatGPT as well. But you really need to understand, what is that and how does your product or your service help them get from point A to point B? So I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to do like a beginner's lash course, just because I feel like this is a very simple, easy, understandable example. So it's someone who doesn't know lash extensions yet, right? And so they haven't taken a course yet. So they're at point A, they haven't taken a course yet. They don't know anything about lash extensions. Maybe they're kind of unsure about the lash industry. They're not sure if it's a good option for them, if it's a good career path for them, how much money could they actually make at it. So they're a little unsure, they're a little nervous. They don't know if it's for them yet or not, and they don't know anything about lashes yet. And then point B, they've taken your little boat or your car to that next island, and they're at point B. They've taken the course with you. They have a lot more confidence in their skills and their ability to be successful as a lash artist, right? They have a really good base understanding of like isolation and adhesive use and like all of the foundational lash technique things that they need to know to be a successful lash artist, right? And they're more confident in themselves, they believe in themselves, they have all the tools to be successful now. So that's one example. Or let's say you're going to do like a retention course. So point A might be a lash artist who's been lashing for a few years now, but they are really struggling with retention. They believe that their retention struggles are because of the glue or the adhesive that they're using, and that if they just switch adhesive, maybe it would work better and their retention would be better. Or they believe that it's only the client's fault that it's bad retention and it just must be them because they don't know what they could be doing wrong. They've quote unquote tried everything. So that might be where they're at right now, point A. Then they take your retention course, the little boat or the car that gets them to point B, right? And at point B, they understand that it's not the adhesive that they're using. Maybe they need to understand how to use that adhesive better. They understand that, it need better placement. They need the proper glue usage. They need to be like storing their adhesive properly. They need to understand humidity and how that affects adhesive. And like they're understanding all of these things about retention now. So they're more confident in their ability to troubleshoot retention issues, to get their clients long lasting lashes. They understand how to talk with their clients and educate their clients about retention issues so that they can be doing their part at home and you can be doing your part in the studio and like all of that. So that just kind of gives you a couple of examples of like point A, point B. Okay, so my course helped them understand all of these things. This is what they learned in the course, and this is how my course can help you go from point A to point B kind of thing, right? So you really have to understand like that part of your new brand as well. And I think it's important to also solidify like what are your brand values too? Like if you are going to be like a retention educator or a lash educator or lash brand or whatever it is, what's important to you? Is it high standards of education? Is it high standards of quality of product, right? Ethically sourced products? What are some other ones that I've seen? Like recyclable products, like eco-friendly. Is that something that's important to you? Like cruelty-free, is that something that's important to you? Or like education, very high standards of education, very high quality of products. Like we're not just buying you a cheap little things off of Amazon. So the quality of it, what else could it be in there? Like what standards does your business have? What values do you go by? Integrity, honesty, transparency, all the actual, like the value words that you could use. And you can kind of read up more about this on Google or, YouTube it, TikTok it, whatever, and get more ideas on that. But I think those are important because the beliefs that you have as a business and the values that you have as a business or a brand is going to really inform a lot of the decisions that you make along the way as you grow your business, right? So when you run into a problem with your brand where, oh, well, that we had an issue with the manufacturer and the quality isn't as good as it should be and blah, blah, blah. We're going to lose out on all this money. Okay, well, you know what? Quality is one of our guiding values. So it doesn't matter that we're going to lose out on $5,000. We're going to have to get a new batch sent out because this isn't up to our standards. Like that's something you have to decide because it doesn't just affect like the outward appearance of your brand, but also the inward appearance of your brand. And that's going to have ripple effects onto like your customers and your clients and all of that. So you really have to decide who are you as a brand, your values, the standards that you're going to make your decisions by and live by. you also can be conveying all of that in your new content and your messaging and all of that. And, we have really high standards of quality for our products. And so if it's not up to our standard when we get it from the manufacturer, we send it back and we get a new batch because we really care about you and we want you to have the best of the best. So it's like, okay, that's how it's your value or your standard that you run your business by, that you live by as a brand. And that's how it would work behind the scenes with making decisions to grow your brand based on that, but then also like conveying that in your messaging so that your customers or your clients understand that. I'll give you an example of this too, because we have some educator social media clients who we do their social media for. So we have a couple of esthetician educators who we do them for. We have a Brazilian wax educator that we do her social media for. So the esthetician educators, I'll give you an example of some of their brand things behind the scenes that help guide like the content and the way that we do things. So their business as a whole, like their like training programs as a whole, are built on the highest standards of education in the esthetician industry and the aesthetics industry. You are going to learn the best of the best. It's thorough, it's in depth, it is way more comprehensive than any other training program you're going to find out there. That is a guiding standard in their business that we use in their marketing now. Because of that, their like tone of voice for their content and for their messaging and for their website copy and all of that is very professional, very educational, very like, I don't want to say like it's because it's not like uptight or anything like that, but it's like very passionate, professional, educational, like the best of the best. That's how it comes off as in the copy and in the content and in the way that they just run their trainings and their programs. It's not that we can't like have fun with some of that content or show the behind the scenes or, show them as a person in the content or not. Like it's not we can't put any personal stuff in there. But like that's the overall tone and messaging of the brand because of how their trainings are and the type of estheticians that they want to be attracting into those trainings. So that kind of gives you an example of that versus our Brazilian wax educator. Now she's also has really high standards and all of that, but her thing is like she puts a lot of her personal things into it too, of her story of like, how far she's come and how she's a single mom and all these things. And so some of the different values and stuff that she has for hers is like you can overcome this. Like that's kind of part of her like her story and what we convey in her content is like if I can do this, so can you. And hers is like more friendly, genuine, relatable. That's the kind of like vibe and feel that we have for hers. And we also do a lot of trendy things for hers versus like I probably wouldn't do certain trends for our esthetician educators because of how their brand is portrayed and the values that they have behind it. I just don't feel like certain trends would really fit with the vibe and the way that we want to portray their brand versus with the Brazilian educator, her brand is more laid back. She still has really high quality products and education and all of that, but it's just portrayed in a different way that incorporates her personality a bit more. That just gives you a couple of different examples with the values and the standards that you have as a business and how you want that to be portrayed out into the world. The last thing I wanted to say for like your brand side of things is really like your brand mission, your mission statement. I know this sounds like really cheesy and stuffy and boring or whatever, but when you're clear on all these things and you're writing all this down and you have your brand written out, it's can help inform so many parts of your new business and like help you make decisions easier and create content easier and grow your business faster. And I think having a mission statement can really help you do that because it's going to help inform you on who are you helping and why are you doing this. I think a lot of the mission statement is like your external why, like why are you doing this for other people? What value do they get out of that? So it's like I want to help beginner lash artists like overcome their fear of being seen online, right? Or I want to help beginner lash artists grow confidence in their newfound skills and, build a business that helps them live a life that they love, right? That was a lot of my behind the scenes things. Was that and like with the podcast too, that's like literally in the beginning of the show, you hear, like to help you build a clientele and a life that you love. Like that's a huge thing because I think that having a lash business and building your clientele is a way that you can create that in your life. And so anyway, it's a lot of your external why. So you can really decide what that looks like. It's going to be different for all of us, but it really depends on who your new audience is and what you're going to be helping them with and what that's going to help them do in their life. I think that's super, super important is if you can lean into that in a lot of your content and a lot of your messaging. How is this product going to help make their life easier and better? How is your education going to help make their life easier and better? And what ripple effects is that going to have for them? So that's something I would actually write out too, is like your product or service. What is that going to do for them? What are the strengths of it? How does it make their life easier? How does it make it better? How does it make their day-to-day better? What difference is it going to make for them? Because that can really inform a lot of your brand messaging, like your talking points, and also like your content, your copy on your website, all of the things. So I hope this was really eye-opening and helpful for you to start thinking about some of these behind the scenes things like, okay, who am I as a brand? Who do I want to be attracting now? Do I need to split my pages? Because you've definitely got your work cut out for you now to rebuild this. You want to really focus on building up your audience, your new audience, and your brand messaging. I think those are two really important things to be doing each and every day, or at least 5 days a week minimum to get that started. But the last recommendation I wanted to make for you as well that I just remembered too was that I would really focus on something that you can create consistent income with. And what I mean by that is, so when I first started with teaching and coaching and online courses and all the things, I was really focused on selling, online courses or little ebooks and things like that. And those are great. There's nothing wrong with those things. But the thing about it is that you have to make new sales all the time to create a consistent income from it month to month. That's one of the things that really gets people when they start this new part of a business is how can I make this a consistent income stream, right? Because with lashes or services, you get repeat clients. You have loyal clients who come back to you again and again. You've built up the consistency and the reliability of that revenue. When you have to make new sales, you're constantly turned on all the time in the sense that you have to be online, you have to be making sales. And I was in this cycle where I felt like I had to show up every single day online. I had to be on my stories. I had to be posting every day. I had to be always constantly in a launch cycle of launching something new, always selling something. And those aren't bad things, but I got super, super, super burnt out on it. And it was very hard to create consistent income month to month with that. I never knew what my revenue was always going to look like the next month. So I was focused on these little things to sell versus having I don't know, a signature offer or a signature service or something that has month to month recurring revenues. Now that I look back, I wish I would have started out there's nothing wrong with starting the way that I did, but I think I just wish I would have had a service or a product or a training where it had month to month, with business coaching. I wish I would have focused more on the one-to-one private coaching where they're in a 3 or 6 month container with me, right? They're coming back, they're paying me each month for this service or this product or whatever it is, right? So that I could create those repeat customers, but then also have a little more consistency in it versus trying to always sell little $20 ebooks or $99 ebooks or whatever, right? Or, even an online course that's priced low at I don't know, $200 to $500 or so, and you're always having to sell new ones, to build up a consistent repeat income from that can be a lot because you always have to be selling more and more and more and more. So that's something that when people ask me questions or they're like, well, I really would love to make my new branding services my main thing and stuff, or social media management services, or I'm trying to think of any other examples of people. Those are the people that have asked me. I'm focus on retainer clients, people who are coming back to you again and again. Or with coaching, having a signature offer that you want to have where that's your main thing. But not only is it your signature offer, but it's a high ticket offer so that you're not having to make as many sales to bring in the income and the revenue that you need to. And if it's product lines or things like that, how can you create that experience with you when they buy from you and they use your products? Like, how can you curate that to where they want to consistently buy from you again and again? It's kind of hard, I think, with product lines. And also, like, I don't have in-depth experience with this, so I can't like speak on this as an expert, but just from like the marketing aspect and the interactions that I've had with brands and helping them in that sense, because we have done several product lines for social media management. It's like, okay, how can you make that experience with the products that you have and the offer and that you offer a good experience so that they want to keep buying from you and coming back to you again and again? You could also create memberships, or like I've seen people do like the adhesive subscriptions and things like that, so that you are creating that consistency in your revenue with that. So that's something I would look at right off the bat, is how can you create consistency in the revenue? What can you be offering? What price point does that need to be at? Because you need, if you're going to be like educating or coaching or doing something like that, you need a high, in my opinion, just my experience, in my opinion. I mean, you could be successful selling just like low ticket things, but I just, at least for me, it led to a lot of burnout right off the bat. So I feel like you need a high ticket something or another, high ticket training that you're selling consistently, or a high ticket offer as a coach that you're selling consistently, because otherwise you're just constantly having to like, okay, I need to sell like 100 or 200 of these little ebooks to make, the money that I want to every single month. And for as much as people say, well, I've seen ones where they're like, make a $27 ebook and sell this many of them and you can make an extra 2 or 3 grand a month, or whatever that math adds out to. And it's just like, oh my gosh, now you have to sell that every single month, that many times to new people every single time to make that a reality. And a lot of times there's paid ads involved with that. There's a lot of reach that you need. You always need to be building your audience and email lists, all of the things. There's so much that can go into that. So just to simplify it for you, you'll really focus on how can you create a consistent income with this from the start, especially if it's something that you want to take on full time and maybe not be offering services as much of. So just some things to think about, some things that I wish I would have known, some things I wish I would have focused on when I first got started. So just to kind of recap, know who your new target audience is, who you are as a brand, what are your values, what are your standards, what's your mission statement, what's your point A to point B. And you could have multiple of those. You can do those for every single product or service that you offer now. But really get clear on that, because it's going to inform like every single part of your client experience, your customer experience, your product creation, product development, the way that you build your curriculum and your courses and all the things like that. And I think with like education specifically, there's a lot of really great programs out there now, like the Principles of Lash Artistry, like the Polo program. If you go with NALA and do their educators program, or PLA powered trainers, like there's so many great programs and courses out there for like becoming an educator. But I still feel like even if you are in those programs or you take those courses, you need to understand these things and know these things to be able to market yourself well and to build your new audience and to build that know, like, and trust with them. And not only that, but be able to convert that into consistent sales, because that is where I tripped up at the beginning, and I wish I would have known what I do now. So I love you. I hope that you have a great week. If you have questions on this, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I would love to talk with you about it. And I am going to leave a link in the show notes for just like a one-off, one-on-one call with me. So if you are looking at becoming an educator or expanding past the service chair, like let's get on a call and talk about it. And I can help you kind of like map out what that looks like for you, next steps and all of those things, and like get clear on what you want to do. So have a great week. Thank you so much for listening, and all that information will be down in the show notes. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts at, so that you can get notified when we have new episodes go live every Tuesday.